Breaking news. Near Russia's border, 2 U.S. bombers provoke a response from Russian fighter jets. The conflict in Ukraine, which began when Russia invaded its neighbor in February 2022, shows no signs of abating, as both sides step up their attacks to seize control of the hotspots. Find out what's new with us right here. Visit our Ukraine war page to read more. In March 2022, Nikkei Asia made the decision to halt reporting from Russia until more details about the new criminal code scope became available. Content is compiled from a variety of sources, some of which are wire services. Ukrainian officials say that on Tuesday, Russian forces pounded the ruined city of Avdiivka in the east of the country, but heavy losses prompted them to shift their focus to air attacks rather than ground advances. After the initial days of its invasion, which began in February 2022, Russia failed to move on Kyiv and instead concentrated on advancing in the east, in the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. Ukraine launched a counteroffensive in June, seizing villages in the east and south, though their progress was much slower than their advance through the northeast a year prior. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Russian fighter jets were dispatched on Tuesday to intercept 2 U.S. bombers and a drone that had approached Russia's northern and southern borders. The ministry claims that 2 U.S. B-1B strategic bombers and a Global Hawk drone approached the border over the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea, respectively. U.S. bombers and the drone both veered away from the Russian border after a single Su-37 approached them, the ministry said. Supported by higher oil prices and increased foreign currency sales by exporters ahead of a month-end tax period, the Russian ruble surged to a 6-week high past 94 to the dollar on Tuesday. As of 8:19 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the ruble had strengthened to its highest level against the dollar since September 12. At the end of each month, exporters typically convert foreign currency earnings to pay domestic liabilities like taxes. The decree on mandatory FX sales signed by President Vladimir Putin last week mandates that 43 groups of exporters repatriate 80% and sell 90% of FX revenues. Since the decree was first announced, the ruble has strengthened, dropping below 100 per dollar. The office of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan has announced that Erdoğan has presented Sweden's NATO membership application to the Turkish parliament for ratification. After Russia's sweeping invasion of Ukraine in 2014, Stockholm reversed its long-standing policy of neutrality. Sweden's membership in the EU has been delayed despite Erdogan's July promise to lift his objections. Ankara remains concerned that Sweden is not doing enough to combat terrorism and Islamophobia at home. Only Turkey and Hungary have not yet given their approval for Sweden to join NATO. Russian involvement in the destruction of the Baltic-Connector gas pipeline connecting Finland and Estonia has been denied by the Kremlin. When asked about the comments made by the president of Latvia regarding Moscow's possible responsibility for the damage, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said at a regular briefing that threats made toward Russia were unacceptable. In an interview with LTV's Today's Question, last Thursday, Latvian President Edgars Rinkevics said that if Russia were found responsible for the damage to the Baltic-Connector gas pipeline, NATO should choose to close the Baltic Sea to ships.